Well, when it comes to a sport like distance running, there's going to be no surprises when you hear that much of the diet element of the game is highly individualized. But in saying all of that, one thing which you might be really interested to hear is that the elite athletes from all around the world have some real fundamental things in place when it comes to the food that they're eating. Today, I want to unpack what the top runners in the world are doing around their nutrition and see if there's a few things that we can glean from their insights that we can apply to our own running performance. One of the most important things we can do is fuel our body correctly. One of the most difficult things about living in a Western culture is so much of our food is designed to be fast and stored on a shelf for a long time, which means it's filled with things like preservatives and sugar and white flours. And while this can be okay from time to time, too much of these things lead to not only poor overall health, but poor dental health, and really begs the question, is this the most effective way that we can get the most out of our body on race day? So what is a balanced diet? Well, at its most fundamental and basic level, a balanced diet is making sure we're eating foods as close to its natural source as possible. Well-known food writer Michael Pollan says, eat foods that your grandparents would have recognized as food. So much of the time we go to our shelf and we look at things that have been there for 6 months and they're still good to eat. We want to see things which are as close to its natural state as possible. A good cue that Michael Pollan uses is if it's got more than 4 ingredients within it, you probably don't need it. Now, what are some of the areas that you're going to want to focus on? Things like fats and proteins and carbohydrates, but then also getting your minerals from fruits and vegetables. Let's start to eliminate some of the highly processed foods from our diet and focus on getting back to a more natural state of eating to help complement our body. If we're eating food that our body thrives on, one of the first things that we'll notice is our recovery improves, our general feeling of health and well-being improves, and as a result, our quality of training and our ability to keep backing up quality training is going to improve. So before we jump into anything else, let's have an honest conversation with ourselves about the quality of the balance of our current diet. All right, the second element we're going to want to focus on with a sport like distance running is an effective hydration plan. Now, you might have heard the old saying that your car can only run if it's got the right fuel in it, and the same is true for our body. Now, launching off that first point that we make, we want to make sure that we're replacing the nutrients that our body is actually losing when we sweat. Now, one of the first things that you and I will do when we get home from a hard workout or a hard run is go and we'll grab a glass of water, and that's a great place to start. But there's more than just liquid that we're losing when we sweat. We've got to make sure that we're replacing the sugars, the salts, the electrolytes that's actually going to help our body recover more effectively. Now, the American Council of Exercise recommends 7 to 10 ounces of water for every 10 to 20 minutes that we're out there running. That's a really great place to start. But one place I want to point you towards when it comes to an effective hydration plan is precision hydration. Now, precision hydration, created by Andy Blow, goes into the details about what it is specifically you lose when you sweat and why it's important to know what you as an individual sweat out when you run. Because the truth is, you and I probably sweat at different rates. You might be a very heavy sweater, where I'm more of a moderate sweater. Now, with that information, it's important that whatever you're losing is being replaced at a higher level to that which I am losing. The best place you can start this is with their free sweat test. Now, I've linked that in the description below. With an online sweat test, Andy Blow explained to me on the Relax Running podcast, they can get a very accurate idea of what it is that you need when you get home from your run or when you're out there running. Now, the beauty with Precision Hydration is they're supporting me to my lead up to the Melbourne Marathon, and they've put together a discount code specifically for listeners of the Relax Running podcast or the Relax Running YouTube channel. So if you jump over there, you like what you see, you like the sound of their product, enter the coupon code RELAXED23 and you're going to get 15% off all of their products. All right, the third thing we want to focus on is consuming the right amount of carbohydrates. One thing we have to remember is that when we go out and run, carbohydrates is our main fuel source to get us through that run. So if we're low there, our ability to be able to actually maintain a high output for a long period of time is going to be diminished. So we've got to figure out an effective routine around carbohydrates that we can use going into our training runs and our racing. Again, one thing that Andy Blow from Precision Fuel and Hydration spoke about on the Relax Running podcast is this exact thing, trying to navigate how many carbs we should have at what period leading up to a run to make sure that when we're on the start line of a training session or a race, you and I are well and truly filled up with the important energy sources that's going to get us across the line. Now, the American College of Sports Medicine recommends that runners should consume around 3 to 12 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight per day. Now, this obviously depends on the intensity and the duration of the runs, but that's a really good start point. If you can start to get these fundamental elements in place and practice with it in the lead up to your actual race, you're going to be more confident in what leaves you feeling fueled and highly energized to get out there and put in your hardest effort on race day. We don't want to be guessing around and mucking around. The beauty with training is it allows us to implement some of our ideas, some of our practices in the lead up to what it is that we're doing. So if you've got a race a few months down the track, start to toy with the carb loading and the carb fueling element of your game so that by the time you get there, you are well and truly ready to go. Now, the last thing we want to focus on, and arguably this fits into the first category of things we were speaking about, but I wanted to spend a bit more time on it as a last point, and that is making sure we're consuming adequate protein. Why protein? Now, protein is essential for muscle repair and recovery. Now, it may come as no surprise to you hearing that endurance runners require more protein than sedentary individuals to help neutralize the damage caused by the prolonged physical activity. Now, a study published in the Journal of International Society of Sports Nutrition found that consuming adequate protein can improve muscle recovery and reduce muscle damage. Now, the beauty with that, obviously, as I touched on earlier, as athletes, we want to be making sure we're rocking up at a high level, well and truly fueled each and every day to produce consistent training. Now, if this is an area that you haven't looked into recently, it can feel overwhelming. That's why we start with the basics here. We want to implement a couple of things and get the ball rolling. And then as we go, we can toy, we can play, we can adjust what it is that we're doing to see what works best for us. But as a start point, these are a few really important categories to focus on. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you've got anything that works specifically for you around carb loading, around recovery, around fueling, or around the things you swear by that radically improve your own running performance, make sure you let us know in the comments below. In the meantime, make sure you like the video if it was helpful. Hit subscribe. We've got new videos coming out like this and also the Relax Running podcast each and every week, and make sure you take advantage of the discounts that I've left for you in the description below. Happy training, and let's continue our conversation down in the comments below.